Alright, so kind of like we talked about yesterday, by the time you're watching this will be yesterday, we are nearing the end of this packet. We have actually covered everything, all the way through, all the new material, which it was just 4 days of it. We have covered that through Zooms already this past few weeks, so today we're going to kind of use that to go over some of the review. Even if you've already done it, I would like you to go back through it and see if you're understanding it. It's just covering some of the stuff we used to cover early in the year. So we're going to be looking at day 14 and 15. Like I said before, or yesterday, I keep saying before because I'm recording this on Monday night. Just like I said yesterday when we were in our Zoom meeting, you clicking on this and watching the entire thing, I get a notification, and that's how I will give you credit. It says if you guys, it's your participation for the week, so you're getting credit for doing it. If you don't watch it, you will not get the credit. So you need to be watching it entirely. Even if you've already gone over it, I'm not going to make, this one's going to be pretty short. You'll have this, and then when you turn in your new packets later this week when you guys come in and grab your stuff from your locker, you will have a new packet to get, and then next week we'll start going over that. So we're going to keep the same process. On Thursday, I'm going to give you guys 2 review questions. They are going to be over the geometry, so the volume and all of that we've covered earlier in the year. You'll still have your packet when you guys do that, hopefully, so it won't be too bad. It's going to be like 2 or 3 questions. Just to give you guys credit, we're going to try this method just because in Zooms, it's just me talking anyway, so why not just watch a video on your own time? You don't have to wake up early for it. So I hope this works. If it doesn't, we can go back to what we were doing before. Just some things, since we aren't meeting on Zoom anymore, I do need a few favors from some of you guys. I need a couple more people to read children's books. If you would like to do that and you don't have a children's book at home you want to read, I can leave some out for you when your parents come pick up your stuff from your locker. So I can do that. I do need about 3 more of you to make it how we want it to be done. It's going to be pretty cool how we do it, I think. But I do need a little more participation with that. So it's a great way to kind of, the younger kids, for them to remember you guys. They're watching them. A lot of the other teachers that have younger kids, they think their kid will love it. So it's something for you guys to kind of get to talk to those younger kids. Even if it's just you're reading a story you don't think you are, they're watching and they love that stuff. So I think a couple more of you would be wonderful. And I do need more food options for when we do the celebration lunch with you guys that Mr. Alarcon is going to put on. It will be your teachers, and you guys will watch the slideshow. We'll give you guys some awards, and we'll just eat and hang out all together. So it's just you guys and the teachers and Mr. Alarcon, and I do need suggestions so that it's not me picking what you guys eat. I only got 1 suggestion, so any more would be wonderful. So before I waste any more of your time, we're going to get started on this. I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm going to go through a couple just to kind of get it in your mind of the rules. So some of the ones I'm going to go through, if you already did it, that's okay. Just double check your work. So let's look at the first one. So it says simplify x to the 5th divided by x. So we know when we divide and you have the same base, what you do with your exponents is you subtract. So what you really do is x to the 5th minus this x, but there's nothing there, so you should know that you put a 1 there. And when you do that, x to the 5th minus 1, that's the exact same thing. And all you do is subtract it, and you should get x to the 4th. Okay? That one's pretty simple. That one, just knowing what rational and irrational. Remember, rational ends. Irrational does not. It's a number like pi, or it's a number like it's a square root. Anything like that would be irrational, where if I put that into a calculator, it would just keep going and going and going. There's no end in sight. Alright, let's look at this middle one. So, write in exponential form, that means put it into exponents. So you need to find how many x's do I have, how many y's. If you do your basis, your first base is x, how many of those x's do you have? I have 1, 2, 3. X to the 3rd. Still times, because you got to put what's between those x's and the y's, you can't combine them. And then your next base I see is a y, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that would be as simple as an answer. And we should probably go over this one real quick, just so we remember in our head what you do with it. Remember, you can separate the coefficient from the x. So you can separate those. What you're going to do is you're going to multiply your 2 coefficients. So 3 times 2, you're going to get 6x. Now, what do you do when you multiply with the same base? You add those exponents. So 3 plus 5. So it would be 6x to the 8th. Alright, let's look at this one. Solving for x. This is a two-step equation. Hopefully it's easy for you guys. Your first step, you need to get rid of anything you can. Upside down t here. Now you want to get rid of everything that's not with the x, so I notice that the 2 is without the x. You do the opposite. So the opposite of plus 2 is minus 2. You're left with 3/4 x equals 9. Now you need to get rid of 3/4. It says 3/4 times x, so I need to divide. It's a fraction, so many of you know you can take the reciprocal, so take the opposite, flip it. So I would multiply by 4/3, because that's the same as dividing by 3/4. So times 4/3 times 4/3. Now it's kind of hard to see, so my suggestion for many people is to write x equals 9 times 4/3. Since 9 is one number, we should make it into a fraction. And you go across the top, across the bottom, or you can simplify it out. I know that 9 divides 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3, and 3 times 4 is 12, or 12/1, which is the same thing. Okay, when you write expanded form, you're going to break it up. So take every x, get rid of the exponent, and write it out. And that was pretty quick for going over all those, but those are the ones that I think that we should be going over to make sure you understand. Let's look at day 15. Alright, let's look at this first one. X to the -4th divided by y to the -1/2. These have different bases, so you can't combine them, but whenever you simplify with your exponents, if you remember back, we did this like one of the first few weeks of school. You have to get rid of any negative exponents, and the way to get rid of a negative exponent is to take it to the opposite side of the fraction. So if your negative is in the top, you bring it to the bottom. So if it's in the bottom, you bring it to the top. No, they're in both sections. So I really need to move my y up, because as soon as you bring it up, that cancels the negative. But then I need to bring my x down, because as soon as I bring it to the other side, it cancels the negative. So my answer would be y squared over x to the 4th. Okay. We're going to do 2 more. This one and this one we'll do together. And the other one you guys will be able to do on your own. So let's look at the middle one. It's again a two-step equation, so you're always going to start off everything without the x you get rid of first. The start of this one should be pretty easy, but then there's one different thing in here. So you need to, instead of +3, you need a -3. Cancels, you're left with x squared equals 28 minus 3. You're going to get 25. Now I have x squared. Remember, to get rid of the square, you have to take the square root. Looks like this. And we know the square root, you got to find something times itself has to equal 25. So you got to think, okay, what's the square root of 25? Hopefully when you get that, you realize that is 5. Because 5 times 5 is 25, and as soon as it's a double number, that's when you can take it out. And our last one. Scientific notation. This was like the first quarter of school as well. So scientific notation is, remember, you have one number times 10 to some exponent. You can only have one number. You can have a number with a decimal and a bunch of numbers after it, but as soon as you see zeros, you know it's done. So if I look at 7,000, I have 3 zeros here. Then I take whatever number's in front of those zeros, it's 7, and then you always multiply by a base of 10, times how many, times what power, or to what power, and that's how many zeros you have, or how many numbers are after your 7, and I have 1, 2, 3. So there you go. Hopefully that was a little helpful for some of you guys if you were struggling on the review. I wanted to go through it together just because some of them are things we learned about in the very beginning of the school year. So remember what's coming up. Remember that I do need some of your guys' help in some of the end of the year activities to make it as nice as possible for you guys. I think if you do it, you would really enjoy it. If you're unsure how to do it, I can easily walk you through it. It can be as simple as you get on Zoom and you read to me and I record it as well. I can do that if that's easier. You can use your phone. It's like 2.5 minutes, but it's something fun that I think the younger kids would really enjoy, and I think some of them, you don't realize how much they're going to miss you. So that's a good kind of closure for them as well. So remember, you need some help. If that is something you're interested in, let me know as soon as possible. All right, have a good week, guys.